this computer. Okay, so hi guys, this is first Zoom call of this reset, week 1. Welcome on board. And during this call, Lian and I will answer your questions, of course, and as well kind of give you an explanation and some main points, share with you some main points what first week is all about, and we'll see how it goes. Lian?
Yes. CJ, I just wanted to let you know I just messaged you. I apologize. So there were 1 or 2 of you who you weren't showing up on my Slack. But when I finally put your name in, you popped up. I'm not quite sure why that is. So I would have messaged you earlier, CJ, but I just, for whatever reason, you weren't showing up on my list. But now you're there. I found you. So I've just sent you a message right before we started. I might add a little bit to it, but I wanted to at least reach out to you before we began. And I sent you the food nutrient list. It'll make sense when you read so
Leanne, I think Andre just sent me the invite for the Slack, so it's Jane.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's only a couple of people who haven't sent their forms, and there were a couple of you who I couldn't find on Slack, but no worries. I will make sure everybody gets, I'm connected with everyone and you are able to reach me. So what I'd like to do is, first of all, everyone was sort of saying that today seems to be going quite well, but what I would like to do is go over week 1, just to make sure that everyone understands sort of what we're doing, so there's no anxiety or confusion about anything. So we all know that we're having 60 grams of protein with each meal, right? And so what tends to help, I was saying before we started recording, is you're going to have 60 grams of protein per each meal, and you're going to have your healthy fats. You're going to have 2 tablespoons of olive oil with every meal, plus 2 additional healthy fats this week. And this is to help you fat adapt, to start using fat for fuel, burning ketones. There was a question about the olive oil, and yes, you can cook with it. You can use it in your sauces. Some people even just drizzle it on their food. You have different options as long as you're having your 2 tablespoons of olive oil with each meal, plus 2 additional healthy fats. So what are the 2 additional healthy fats? Well, 1 serving of healthy fat could be 1 ounce of nuts or seeds. And you can combine them. It doesn't have to be 1 ounce of nuts. It could be half an ounce of nuts and half an ounce of seeds. Seeds are a lot lighter, right? Ounce is a measure of weight. So you could have 2 tablespoons of seeds, which is really half an ounce, and then have half an ounce of nuts. So you can combine them is what I'm saying. But 1 serving is 1 ounce of nuts or seeds, half an avocado, 1 ounce of cheese, an ounce of nut butter, or you can even have another tablespoon of additional healthy fat. So that could be coconut oil or avocado oil or more olive oil, etc. Could be ghee, tallow, whatever you prefer. The only cheese that is not considered a healthy fat is cottage cheese, because it's very low in calories and fat. So we just count that towards our protein. If you choose to use it, it's a great way to get your protein in, but it's not considered a healthy fat. There's not enough, fat for us to consider that. And then you're going to have 2 to 3 low-carb vegetables per meal. And this is important for a couple of reasons. Obviously, they're healthy, lots of fiber. We want to stay regular while we're on the program. Sometimes increasing your healthy fats and your protein at once just can cause a little bit of constipation or irregularity the first couple of weeks for people. The thing I would say to remember is that when you're eating low carb, you're going to excrete more sodium. So you need to have your electrolytes, which is why we also include, as an option, it's optional, it's not mandatory, but we include 1 to 2 servings of fermented foods per day. And that will help with some of the electrolytes. You can also take a pinch of Himalayan sea salt and just put it in some water. Or you can have 1 to 2 packets of electrolytes a day. Just don't have more than 2 per day, because too many electrolytes can be just as bad as not having enough. And the other thing I would say is to remember to drink enough water. Try not to drink with your meals. it can just cause, some digestive issues. It can make it harder for you to digest, especially when you're having a lot of food, but try to drink water liberally between your meals. Obviously, if you're thirsty or your mouth is dry, you can sip something while you eat. Just don't drink copious amounts of fluids while you're eating. Okay, so your 60 grams of protein, your 2 tablespoons of olive oil plus 2 additional healthy fats. You have the option of having 1 to 2 fermented foods per day, servings, and also 2 to 3 low carb vegetables per meal. And a serving of low carb vegetable is half a cup raw or cooked vegetables or 1 cup leafy greens. Does that make sense for everyone?
And I would just add it's 60 gram for women and 70 gram for men for protein per meal.
Yes. Yes, Harry and Hans. There you go. Exactly. Thanks, Andre.
Yeah, I guess that only applies to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's an okay moment to ask,
Sure.
how long should we wait before or after eating to be back to our drinking copious amounts of liquids? Is it half an hour? Is it longer?
Yeah, it's after the meal, you want to wait a little bit longer. Before the meal, you can get away with it, maybe half an hour before. But once you eat, it can take a while, depends on what you've eaten. But typically I would say, try not to drink a big glass of liquid for about an hour and a half or so, right?
Okay.
So sometimes people just put a little reminder on their phone when they know they're not eating, just to remind them to drink more water. Because if you find yourself a little irregular or you normally can get a little bit backed out, if you're not drinking enough water on the program, it will be notable because you need to put the fluid back in, not just the electrolytes. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. And there was a comment privately earlier today. So the low carb fruit is something that we start in week 2. It's not mandatory. Some people don't like to have fruit, but it is an option starting in week 2 that will run all the way through. But for week 1, our goal is to fat adapt. So we don't start with the low carb fruit this week. Yeah. Jennifer, you had a question. I think it was regarding around your workout. Did you want to ask?
I think that was Jane, but I did have a question around if I'm taking athletic greens and I'm not starting to eat my 6 to 8 hours of eating or whatever, my 2 meals, till say 11 in the morning. But I maybe, when I get up first thing in the morning, I'm typically having my athletic greens. Is that something I should still do, or should I wait till I start my day of eating?
You should typically wait until you have your first meal that breaks your fast.
Okay.
Day. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot that goes into the athletic greens.
And if you drink those, do it before the meal, as Leanne suggested. Actually,
Yes.
you would feel better, and you can try to have it after the meal, and generally you feel kind of bloated and not nice. But just 10-15 minutes before the meal, then it's probably the best way to do it.
So if we're doing a workout with you or wherever, but we haven't eaten for a few hours, let's say our first meal was at 11 and we're working out with you at 5, so it's not time to either have dinner before that, because I don't think I could work out after I've eaten what I've eaten today.
No, yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
Should we have something in our stomach before we do our workout, or?
No, not necessarily, unless you have some issues with blood sugar, but usually it's not a problem. Yeah, so before the workout, I don't, depends. What time are you? Look, I guess I can check the schedule. What time you work?
Yeah, 5.
So what time are you? 5? Yeah.
5.
And yeah, so just kind of manage your meals so you have enough time for the food to kind of be digested from the first meal, and then work out and have a meal, within a couple hours after.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the key.
So that. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say the key is if you're having a workout and you're not able to have one of your either meals of the day, then you want to have a protein shake. So if after the meal. So I'm saying if you have a workout, guys, and you're not able to have either of your daily meals within 1 to 2 hours after the workout, then we want you to have a protein shake, because we don't want you to lose any lean muscle tissue. So but we don't want you to put, you know, athletic greens or milk or anything in it except for water and the protein powder and maybe some ice so that it's as clean as possible. So it's just to ensure that you maintain your lean body mass. Yeah.
Okay, so that was my question earlier. Like if you did a
Yeah.
workout early in the morning,
Correct.
I generally have a bit of protein. I actually use those Fairlife high protein milks.
Yeah.
And so you're saying don't do those. Okay.
No, because they've got a bunch of
Okay.
items in them, but if you can find,
Okay.
I can help you with that if you want a few
Okay.
suggestions. If you handle whey isolate well, Andre's got a great one. If not, there's a bunch I can recommend you can order online.
Yeah, I do have different protein powders. I just,
Okay.
yeah. So that's not a problem. I can just switch to that. So just a protein powder with water, and that doesn't break your fast because I don't start eating it
Well,
until
it
about 10.
clearly does. It clearly does, but you know, we don't want to be in the situation where what happens when you work out fasted, like when you don't, let's say you during the night. So okay, let me go a little bit further back. Muscles at like right now we're speaking is at the same time simultaneously being broken down and being built up. It's an ongoing process. So if we're breaking down more than we're building up, you know, we're gradually going to lose lean muscle tissue. If we're breaking down same amount as we're building up, we're maintaining, we're building more than breaking, we're building muscle, right?
Yeah.
So what happens during the night, we're fasting. So we clearly in that, you know, the breakdown of the muscle is greater than build up, right? So we gradually lose muscle. And then you work out, you even further break down lean muscle tissue. And then you're not going to eat for another how many hours? You're going to break it down even more. So then, you know, if you do that, there is a high chance that you're going to end up with negative net protein balance, where you're going to break down when you're going to build up. So what we suggest is to make sure it's not going to happen, or to minimize the chances of that happening, is that after the workout, you know, try to eat your meal within an hour or 2 hours, but it's okay if you can't. In that case, just have some protein, pure protein. Pure protein doesn't really have that many calories, like something 20-30% of those calories being used for digestion of that protein anyway. And protein is not used for energy, it's a building material, right? It's not like carbs or fat. So yes, technically you break down the fast, but it's allowed on this program. That's the only time you can break fast, because we want to make sure that we are, you know, stop that breaking down of the muscle and start the anabolic process of building up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's enough intermittent fasting and longer fasts and catabolic state for you to it balances itself out. It's not something to worry about, but the most important thing is that you maintain your lean muscle tissue. Mandy, you've had your hand up for a while.
Well, I had a similar question about the athletic greens. So I tend to start the day, actually, I tend to start the day with a protein shake, which I can have later in the day. But prior to that, I usually put some apple cider vinegar in water, and that's the first thing that I have in the morning, which was recommended by other kind of health professionals. And it seems to have been helpful, but I suspect that probably breaks the fast. So I'm wondering what you recommend around that.
Yeah, if you enjoy the apple cider vinegar and water, you can have a little bit right before your meal. Some people use it to try to reduce the blood sugar spike before a meal. You just don't want to have a big glass of water, right? So it might reduce the amount that you're having. Or you can have it with, can you have it with your athletic greens and some water before the meal, maybe 10 minutes before?
Yeah, that would be easy to do.
That would be a good
I
compliment.
don't normally I just have it on an empty stomach, and then I wait a little while before I before I even have the shake in the morning. So I'm happy to move things around.
Right. Sorry, Mandy. Andre, Mayada's messaging something and she can't get in or something. Oh,
okay, I'll check.
She's there, but maybe, did you want to just check the chat?
Yeah, I will check.
Okay. Sorry, Mandy. Yeah, I think just for the program, that might be the best solution, is just to about 10 minutes before your meal, your first meal. Because really, guys, it's breakfast really means break fast. So it's whatever meal of the day, you're breaking your overnight fast. Hi, Mayada.
Hi.
Are you okay? I didn't know what yours, I could just see it.
I figured it out. I couldn't turn
Okay.
it on. Okay.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Does that make sense, Mandy? Yeah, wonderful. Okay. How are you, Mayada?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're very well. How did day one go?
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for the bulletproof.
By the way, it's Mayada's like number 5 reset or something. He's a veteran. If you guys have any questions, just ask.
Yeah. I messaged you. Yeah. So you're still
Did you
using-
message me?
Yes, it's
I
okay.
haven't downloaded Slack yet, so I'm behind.
Okay. It's showing that you're on there. So this is the weird thing with Slack. You're there. So I was able to message you, but maybe
Yeah,
you
but it's not yeah,
Some
I'm not signed in, so it's probably
gotcha.
it's
From
probably I'm
before.
there from before,
Yeah.
but I'll sign
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. So you're still using the bulletproof for your
Yes.
coffee?
I that's what I did this morning, and it was I'm like, okay, I'm starting it correctly this time.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
So we went over week 1. Mayada, you already know how we do week 1, but I just wanted to mention a little bit about the recipes. So if you note some of the recipes, you'll see, makes 1 serving or makes 4 servings. So if you look at something like the chocolate avocado pudding, for example, which has avocados in it, when I say it makes 4 servings, it's making 4 servings of healthy fat. So I break it down for you. Does that make sense, guys? If you want to, I don't know what page that's on, but just to give you an example, because I'm using 2 avocados in the recipe, it's going to make 4 servings, right? Because half of an avocado is 1 serving of healthy fat. Does that make sense? So I'm just giving you ideas so that you're not really bored just eating a plain avocado, that you can do different things with them. You don't have to eat any of these recipes, but I'm just giving you some examples. There is a protein pumpkin bread, for example, that incorporates a lot of the different healthy seeds. And it's a good alternative for people who can't, because we can't have bread and things like that right now. So a lot of people really like that. If you make it, it's 1 slice is 1 healthy serving of fat. And I suggest people toast it. It tastes really good if it's toasted. So you just want to slice it just thin enough to fit in your toaster. And then you can also, for example, I'm just giving you guys examples. You could have that as one of your additional healthy fats. And some people like to put butter on it or some sort of cheese, or you could put olive oil on it or anything that you like, or a nut butter, for example. And then there you would have your 2 additional healthy fats, just to give you an example. So you can get really creative with it. And because we're not adding sugar, at the beginning of the recipes, I list sort of the cleaner alternatives, and what I would suggest would be monk fruit, which is quite clean, and this spoonable stevia that does not have erythritol in it. So these are the 2 erythritol-free ones. And also the Krista stevia sweetened chocolate chips. There are almond butter chocolate chip cookies, and then 1 cookie would be a healthy fat. So some people found that helpful, where they would have sort of a dessert, and that would be considered one of their healthy fats. So these are just ideas for everybody. Sorry, Harry, you've had your hand up for a little bit. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I saw a question about black coffee before your first meal break fast. So if you want to answer that, and then I had questions about other things we can drink when we're not eating.
Okay, sorry, I'm not following the chat. I think Andre was.
Oh yeah, no worries.
Was there something in the chat?
Well, yeah, not to step on your toes there, Jane, but Jane had asked if we can have black coffee before our first meal, whether that breaks the fast, which I was curious about as well. And then I was piggybacking on that.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Mayada, do you want to talk to them about your coffee?
Yes. I was just looking for it actually to show it here, because I took a
Yeah.
photo of it today.
But yes, people have black coffee or tea.
Yes, so this is what Leanne recommended last time. I don't know if it's visible.
It's called bulletproof, and rather
Yeah.
than adding milk or cream to it.
Yes.
Oh, cool. So you can
Yeah.
do
Yeah, I really struggled with having just black coffee because it was very acidic.
yeah.
So, and I love cream and coffee. So using this, it's not in very small quantities, just to give it like not the recommended dose on the box, but even maybe a quarter of the recommended dose, and it just gives it that creamy
Okay.
taste.
Where do you get that? I've never seen that. Where do you get that?
That
Is it
you,
like
you have to get it from you can go on Bulletproof, like their
Okay.
website,
This is the website.
but I don't know if they deliver to Canada.
Mm.
I think they only deliver
I've
to
ordered
the
it.
US. You've ordered
I've
it?
ordered it before. I don't remember exactly. For me, it was probably Amazon.
Yeah.
I'm so busy, I usually
Mm.
just go to
I
Amazon.
couldn't find it on Amazon.
Okay, I'll have a look, guys. I haven't ordered it in a couple of years, but I know that it's sort of a favorite for those who want to add something to give it that feel. It's got the MCT oil in it, which can help just initially when you're becoming fat adapted, and some grass-fed butter. You want to get the clean one. They do have a couple of different ones, but I sent my out of just the very clean one. It is an option. Yeah.
Yeah, and then my question just to add on to that was, what's the deal with tea, various herbal and caffeinated teas? Can we drink those at all? Can we drink them in the evenings if we're like hungry? Or I like a lot of liquid, so a lot of my
Yeah, you
questions.
can have a little, as long as you're not, I don't want you having it with your meals, and we don't want you adding things to it, right?
But and green tea is okay too in the afternoon or
Little
morning?
bit, yep, little bit of green tea.
And then herbal teas are kind of, we can drink as long as they're
So
not.
any non-caloric beverages are allowed, basically.
Okay, wonderful. That's great.
Yeah, some of them sneak little things in there. So if you're in doubt, just send me a little message on Slack and I'll confirm for you.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, like there really isn't any real clinic, like there's no real study where they're saying, if you have fluids with your meals, it will impair your digestion. But clinically, I've seen for decades, and we all know from experience, right? Having too much liquid, a lot of people think they're helping themselves by throwing back a big glass to sort of wash down their meal, but it actually does the opposite, because we have the digestive enzymes, and if we dilute them, it becomes harder for our body to break down the food. That's the whole purpose of the digestive enzymes, is to break down the food. But drinking those, Harry, between meals and everything, no problem at all.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great news.
Indeed, did you still have a question? Your hand is still up. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of a follow-up on the same theme. I forgot to ask about electrolytes first thing in the morning. So I have packets that I use, the LMNT brand, I think is what it's called. And I think it has no extra added sugar, but it does have like a range of like sodium, magnesium, potassium stuff. Is that fine to drink first thing, or should I wait until the first meal, or?
Yeah, you can go ahead, Andre.
No, I'm just, my computer is not enough. But no, electrolytes, if it doesn't have calories,
Yeah.
but it's totally acceptable. In fact, we encourage that kind of to sip on them throughout your day.
Yeah, we don't want you to have low electrolytes. It's very, very important. Obviously, it's crucial, right? So, and you'll know, guys, after the first week, if you start to feel, because when you're fat adapting, it's normal to have a little bit of fatigue, or maybe a little bit of a headache, or sometimes people get a little bit of muscle cramps, and these are signs of electrolytes. So we just want to make sure you're having the LMNT are great. That's a brand that we recommend if you're going to use them. Again, just limit it to 2 packets per day, right? And you can break that into, if you choose to, you could break it even into 4 portions. Just use half a packet here and there throughout the day, or you can use the miso soup is great. And then there's kimchi, sauerkraut, things like that. And if all else fails, you just take some mineralized, obviously not table salt, but a sea salt, or like Himalayan sea salt or Celtic sea salt, and just pinch some in some water and drink it, because we want to make sure that you've got enough electrolytes, because we just naturally, our kidneys will flush out more when we're low carb, when we're fat adapting. Okay.
Are Noon tablets, that brand of electrolyte tablets, are those okay? Do you know them?
What is it called? Sorry, here.
Noon, N-U-U-N.
That I'm not too familiar with. Just have a look, as long as it doesn't have like additional calories, right? So you have to just look at the ingredients. You want to see electrolytes. You don't want to see, berry beet juice or like any of these extra things that are going to give it calories. So LMNT is a good go-to one that I can tell you that is good quality. So I can recommend that one. Some of the other ones I'm not quite sure. Jennifer, did you have a question?
Yeah, thanks for sharing those symptoms, because yes, I had a bit of headache today, and I was trying to decide why that I haven't had a headache in ages.
Yeah.
But I did have like a kimchi, a fermented ginger. It was like I don't know, sauerkraut. I think it was one of those things that you recommended, one of the
Excellent.
brands.
Yeah.
But I had a question about the bread, the protein bread that you're just talking about. So I was looking at your recipe. By the way, recipes are phenomenal.
Oh, thank
The Leanne's pumpkin protein bread.
Yes, that's it.
So you would make that, will it keep? Is this, I'm thinking about this camping trip. Everybody's gonna be eating bread
Oh,
on the
yes.
mountain. I want to eat bread.
Camping trip. It should keep, yes. So just wrap it well.
Yeah.
And maybe just let it sort of, dry up. But like after it cooks, don't just wrap it right away so it doesn't sweat or anything,
Yeah.
right? And then what I would do is, how many days are you camping again, Jennifer?
We'll be away 3, but I'm gonna be hiking. So one of my meals is gonna have to happen on the mountain. So I'm trying to think of stuff I can bring
So
out
I'm
there.
assuming you're not going to bring your toaster in your backpack.
Well, we are in a campground for when we come back down off the mountain, but
yeah.
I'll be taking a meal up with me for sure.
That
on the
would be a
hike.
great way for you to try to do like a little, sandwich sort of. You can use that as
Yeah.
your fat, add something to it, and that's part of your meal. That's a good idea.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
You
Thank you.
you could toast it before you leave. Like
Yeah.
you could toast it, and then as long as you wrap it again and put it in the fridge before you leave, it should be fine. It just
Okay.
gives it a little more sort of crunchy kind of bread sort of feel.
Yeah.
It is nice and yeah. So just a suggestion.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. CJ?
Hi. 2 questions. One, do we use ketone strips to test whether we're finally in ketosis or fat adapted, or how do you recommend us testing that we're fat adapted?
You don't need to. The odd person likes to keep track, but most people, if you follow the week 1 program and into week 2, if you follow the program as it unfolds, you will fat adapt and you'll be right where you need to be.
Okay. And the second question is, I was going through the website and I noticed I downloaded another protocol for the diet that in a certain way we're actually doing sort of a version of that. And it happened to include alcohol, which I was very surprised about. But I'm assuming that this particular reboot, there's no alcohol.
Sorry, which website?
The New Element training website. There's
Oh.
I was looking I'm in the United States in California, and I was looking at the resources, and there was a PDF that I downloaded and I was reading, and it was basically a guide. Maybe it came from the blog.
But it's a different, if it would be something different, not part of this reset.
Oh,
Yeah,
it might have been
Yeah, that was my question, because it had a lot of the similar elements, and it was sort of a long.
Yeah, you're probably looking at some of the recommendations. I have to check. Can you send me the link when you have a chance? I didn't know it was on the website. I'll check. But on the reset specifically, it's structured a little bit different from that program.
Yes, and so this reset has no alcohol is my question.
correct.
Okay, that was.
I'm a little bit more linear, but Liana is stricter than me. She's saying no, so I guess that's no.
You can start asking me in week 5. You
Yeah.
can have 1 glass to
I mean, a
start.
glass of dry red wine, but listen, I'm not gonna go against Lian's. Whatever she said.
So maybe I have a third question, and the third question is that after the reboot, we're going to have guidance, or we will be talking about how you re-enter the world and
Yes.
eat
Yes.
and potentially drink, and what to do that keeps you basically not reversing your progress.
We make recommendations. It just depends on whether or not, like, some people want to go back to eating starchy carbs with every meal. People have different objectives. Some people want to continue to lose additional fat, et cetera, et cetera. But we definitely talk about, options and the best way to incorporate your starchy carbs around your meals and timing and things like that, for sure.
And we do it during week 6. That's kind of the purpose of week 6, is the transition into the real life. That's where we're discussing all those possibilities.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
I want to say something about overall week 1. Just make sure that we understand the process clearly, even though Lian already mentioned most of it, but just want to review it anyway. So the whole purpose of first week is to fat adapt. Basically, why? Well, up until now, until you already been eating kind of keto diet, unless you've been eating keto diet or something like that, our body primarily runs on glucose for energy. right? It doesn't really effectively switches to oxidizing fat because there is abundance of glucose, and glucose comes not from just sugars, from any form of carbs. They'll end up as glucose in your blood. And as long as your liver is full of glycogen, meaning that's where we store that energy, you pretty much not gonna burn much of, fat for energy. So the fat adaptation process is basically you are gonna gradually, well, not gradually, fairly fast, deplete your liver of glycogen. And it takes about a couple days. So by day 3, that's where you're gonna, starting feeling the symptoms of not feeling great, had a little bit of headache, and maybe the heart is kind of, beating a little bit faster and so on and so forth. But that's kind of the transitioning where we're depleting our glycogen storage in the liver, and then the body goes, okay, so there is no glycogen available anymore, and we need it. We need glucose to run the brain, to run the organs and everything else. So, and instead the body will start oxidizing fat for energy. And then from that fat, the body is going to start making those ketone bodies, right? So it's called keto adaptation, fat adaptation process. So therefore, what the purpose of first week is not to lose weight or fat, is to make your fat adapt. What helps you to fat adapt the most efficient way? Increase your fat intake. That's why we're telling you this week, to eat a little bit extra healthy fats like olive oil and, those good fats. And electrolytes, those are main, and workout, like a high intensity form of workout, like net workout, or just kind of high intensity interval training, something that will deplete your body of glycogen, will help you facilitate much faster fat adaptation. I've seen people fat adapt in 3 days, just cutting the carbs and doing high intensity form of workout every day for those 3 days. So, and we all adapt at the different rates. Some people adapt, much faster, some a little bit slower. How do you know when you fat adapted? Well, today you're going to feel probably okay. Tomorrow still okay. By day 3, 4, you're kind of going to start feeling not so okay. And how do you know you fat adapted is when the energy comes back. You're still not eating those carbs, but all of a sudden you have the mental clarity back and you have that energy back. So that's the sign of ketones starting to work. Our brain can run either on glucose or ketones, right? Right now, the ketones are very low and there is no glucose, but we still have glycogen stored in the liver. So there's enough of storage to run our body for basically a couple of days. But by day 3, that will go down and you're still not gonna make ketones very effectively yet. That takes time. The more fat adapted you are, the more ketones you're going to generate, but at the beginning, it's a very kind of going to be slow amount. So, you're fat adapted pretty much when you start feeling kind of normal again. In fact, more than normal. Usually it's about 2nd, 3rd week where all of a sudden, your energy is just high and it stays high consistently pretty much the entire day. Don't have these ups and downs that typically associated when we're eating carbs. It's just sustained high level of mental clarity and energy throughout your day. So now you're fat adapted. So yes, you can get those, ketone sticks that you can just, pee on them and I'll tell you, but if you want that, there's nothing wrong with it. But generally speaking, you're fat adapted when you feel, more than okay. You feel like, that's why we're saying like you're going to become a different person. By week 3, you're going to be kind of like a fat burning machine and you're going to feel, very different. So essentially what we're trying to do, we can use this sort of metaphor. There is a truck, those big ones that deliver fuel to the gas stations. When you're not fat adapted, basically you run on the little tank and then you're driving on a highway and you run out of gas. So the truck stops and there is no fuel, but yet you have millions of calories behind you, but you don't have access to it. That's your stored body fat. So what we try to achieve in the first week or 2 is to open the valve. So for your body to have access to those, millions or in our case, 100,000s of calories of stored body fat. And once you do that, and then in the following weeks, week 2, 3, and so on, we're going to start reducing our fat intake from food, and then the body will start drawing that fat from your stored body fat. But we have to make sure that we fat adapted first, right? So that's kind of the logic and the main purpose of week 1. Just want to make sure it's, very clear what this week is all about.
Yeah. And our ability to store excess fat for use later when we need it is one of the reasons we're able to survive, right? But if we're constantly putting it back in, we never need to tap into it. It will stay there for us, but we won't access it, right? So I like to say if you're constantly bringing groceries in and you're not using up what's in the cupboard, you're never going to go downstairs and look in the cellar, right? You're going to forget it's there and you're just going to use what's in front of you. And then before you know it, you've got all this extra stuff that's been sitting there, right? So does that make sense? Yeah.
So a couple more things to watch during week 1. The most common challenges, and Leanne probably would agree with me, one, people struggle with eating enough protein. Just stick with it. Always err on the higher end, not on the lower end. If
Yeah.
protein particularly comes from lean source, it's good for you. Just eat it. But you're gonna figure out by usually week 3 or something, people kind of find their ways to get their proteins, and it's not an issue. But make sure it's very important to get those 60 grams of protein, quality proteins, for female and 70 for male. And the other issue many people have during week 1 or 2 is constipation. So Leanne has a section in the document in the PDF. I don't remember which page. Maybe we can check quickly, but review it because it's going to be an issue for many of you.
I posted today, guys, in Slack and asked you to read the frequently asked questions section, which will cover that. It covers some of the main, obviously, frequently asked questions. And so for constipation, I think I went over the main things to keep in mind is to ensure that you're getting enough water, right? Because you need that to flush through, and your electrolytes. Walking and exercise is also an excellent tool. Just even walking after your meals makes a big difference. A few of you, I did recommend some digestive enzymes. If you've got gas and bloating and feelings of fullness and a little fatigue after eating, constipation, these are signs that, your digestion is a little bit sluggish, that you're struggling a little bit. And that can be for different reasons. For some people, it's as we get older, we make less digestive enzymes. Sometimes that can be the issue. For other people, we just need to support your gut microbiome a little bit more. And I can just sort of tell just by some of the other symptoms that I'm seeing. But we want to walk before we run. So really just for this week, you want to make sure you're getting your electrolytes and water. If you're having your 2 to 3 low carb vegetables, that will help. If you're not used to having the fermented foods, don't jump in head first, sort of start out slow because they are probiotics. It's live bacteria. It's extremely good for you, but I did make a note in there that you can start with a couple of servings a week and sort of build up and allow your body to get used to it. For those of you who are used to them, no problem. You can continue on and carry on. I would say that in terms of getting enough protein, just figuring out how to do that the first week, it's probably the biggest challenge. And so I've made a lot of notes for you guys. If you go to, let me just see if I can pull up which page this is for you. So page 35, which I also posted on Slack. So starting at the bottom of 35, we go into the protein quick calculations. And so first I'm starting out with, animal protein and dairy and things like that. I give you an example of what 30 grams of protein looks like. So obviously you could double that and plus a little bit more, and I'm also showing you, how you can get the most protein out of your vegetables and how to get the protein out of your healthy fats. So we've got healthy fats for example, if we start at the quick calculations, I want to point out edamame is a great way. You can get about 22 grams of protein for a cup of edamame, right? Yogurt helps, 15 to 20 grams a cup. Cottage cheese is an excellent way, 25 to 30 grams, depending on the brand that you're eating. for those of you who like organic tofu. And then for cheese, if you have something like Romano or Parmesan, you're going to get 8 grams per serving, right? But just bearing in mind that that still counts as a healthy fat serving, but it's giving you additional protein. And that's why I was suggesting, you know, sort of get an idea of how much protein you're going to get from your vegetables, how much protein you're going to get from your healthy fat servings. And then you can see, okay, this is how much I need to add to, you know, my protein source, my main protein source, to get you to that 60 or 70 grams. Does that make sense? So if you have an ounce of so almonds, an ounce of almonds will be like 4 grams, and then cashews are 5, and then sorry, walnuts are 4, cashews are 5, and almonds are 6. So you can get between 5 and 15, upwards of 20 grams of protein from your healthy fats and fermented foods and low carb vegetables if you figure it out right. But then you still want to get, you know, all of your amino acids, and you're going to get the bulk of that from a complete protein. But it's just to give you an idea, right? And if you're struggling, what some people will do is they will have a little bit of a protein shake at the beginning of their meal, and then wait 10 or 15 minutes and then have the actual meal. But we do recommend that at least half of your protein comes from food, right? Not just supplements and stuff like that. Just if that helps. So again, guys, you can always reach out and ask me little questions, but this is really, you know, the program that we give you is, there's a lot of information there. It's a lot of useful information. If you get to know sort of the range of protein you're going to get from certain foods, it really helps make it a lot easier for you, especially if you're eating out, right? But once you get the hang of that, it gets much, much easier. Right, Mayada?
Right.
Yeah, it helps. So
It does.
this is just the hard part, sort of figuring out how that looks and what to, and like something like hemp seeds, right, guys? Hemp seeds are great. You know, you're going to get 6 grams of protein from your hemp seed serving, and that's only half an ounce. You could throw 4 on a full ounce on there, but that would probably be way too much. So you could do half an ounce of hemp seeds, and then, you know, do half an ounce of nuts or something like that. Mandy, did you have a question?
Yeah, this seems unlikely, but what if you go over on protein just because of the combination of like
Yeah, that's okay.
foods, and is there a point where that becomes not good?
Not really. It's really hard to overeat protein to the point of it where it's unhealthy. Like haven't seen studies that, you know, you can eat quite a bit of protein. Unless you have kidney issues, then it's a different story. But if you have healthy kidneys, then you're okay. And there was a paper a few months ago that basically showed even if you eat 100 grams of protein, the body still uses it all up. You don't really lose anything. So the muscles probably could use up to 70 grams of protein. The rest is gonna go to your liver, kidneys, you know, other organ tissue, right? But it seems like the research shows that even eating 100 grams of protein, you know, everything is going to get absorbed and used up. So, and to overeat proteins, unless you have, you know, issue with kidneys, it's really hard to have any negative health consequences. That, as far as I know.
And that would be, you know, and also would take into account the, you know, the types and quality of your protein as well, right? You know, so the way we go ahead, Andre.
No, I just want to say we always want to err on the higher end. There's a thing I might have mentioned, I don't remember if I did, called anabolic resistance, meaning with age, the body doesn't really lose its ability to use up all the proteins that we use. So if you give, for example, when you look at the research, when I give, you know, 25-year-old 30 grams of protein, they're going to have nice, clean, sharp muscle protein spike, synthesis spike, meaning the body responds well and builds new muscle. You give it to somebody who is, you know, 70, no spike, maybe a little blip. Now, older people can still have that muscle protein synthesis effect. You can build muscle at any age, but the way you do it, you just eat more protein, because the body is not going to use somehow, you know, everything. So maybe out of 100 grams of protein that you eat, I'm just making this up, but maybe the body will only use 60, 70 of those grams, right? So the older you are, you want to always err on the upper end of the protein, not the lower end of protein, because of this effect of anabolic resistance.
And, you know, your body's going to use it, your muscle, bone, hair, skin, all your enzymes that your body makes. You need protein. It's all made of protein, right? So,
So when you eat, this comes from me, not from Lian. Your main ingredient on the plate is your protein. The rest, secondary.
yeah. Protein is very important. Harry, did you have a question?
I did, protein related. Can we eat chicken with the skin on?
You can, but it is just you do want to take into account how much fat you're having. So that's all. You just keep
Yeah.
it in mind, right? In an ideal world, which the world is not perfect, but in a perfect world, I would say just try to err on the side of, natural whole foods that haven't been broken up down into pieces and turned into something else completely and processed and all of those things. And I would suggest staying eating things that are alive with natural enzymes from food, right, that haven't been denatured and cooked to death, things like that. It's still, there is of course that calorie in, calorie out, right? But I'm talking about going beyond that. We've got, the health component of it as well, right? Which, can we measure that? Not really. There aren't really studies measuring that, but we know that certain things are healthier, the less processed and full of other things that food is, and less that's been done to it, the better, right? So when we talk about healthy fats, we love the oleic acid in olive oil, we love the walnuts, the avocados. But of course, you can have cheese, you can have other things. If you want to have the skin on your chicken, you can have that. It's just finding that balance, right, Harry? It's not a little bit of anything isn't going to hurt you. It's just about consistency. So we're not trying to be perfect. We just want consistency and just keep moving forward, and consistency will get you there, right?
Gotcha.
And just
Thank you.
add something to this.
Sure.
So during first week, Harry, go ahead and enjoy that chicken skin, because we want to make you fat adapted. So we actually encourage you to eat more fat, because the more fat you eat, the faster you're going to fat adapt, frankly, right? It's going to help you to fat adapt faster. Once you fat adapted and your goal is to lose fat, you're going to be playing with total fat intake, right? And, then we're going to, probably it's a topic for next week, where we're going to give you some recommendations, how would you use your fat intake to make sure you're on the right track of losing body fat, right? So you should be losing between 1 to 3 pounds a week of total weight. I don't want to, at this stage, overcomplicate things, but after this week, probably not a great idea to eat chicken skin, but this week, go ahead. As far as
I will enjoy some rotisserie chicken.
Exactly.
And we
Yeah.
we'll cut
So
it.
without getting personal, right? So when I'm looking at all of your forms and I'm sort of looking at the issues that each of you might bring or not bring, things like, that's when it's going to become more of an issue of like eating certain things, not eating certain things that might aggravate you, or eating cleaner and things like that. And that will help some of you, right? So, but from a fat perspective, yes, you can have the skin.
One more question. I made the embarrassing mistake of thinking I had to have my olive oil like directly on its own. Like I took the 2 tablespoons of olive oil and just like,
That's okay.
someone at work was like, "Are you sure you can't put that on your salad?" And I was like, "No, gotta be." So
Oh, no.
we definitely don't have to do that, right? I mean, we
No,
can.
you don't have to do that, Andre. We'll have to tweak the wording on our.
Listen, you can do
I
that
think
if you
I'm
want.
the only one, if I'm the only one that made a mistake, the issue is
You might as well crack some raw eggs, have an raw egg, and then
why not?
flash it with some olive oil, the old school.
Yeah, get
No.
creative with it, Harry. You can put it,
Yeah.
make a salad,
It was not amazing. I'm glad today I was like, wow, I'm going to be doing this twice a day for 6 weeks. I'm very glad about the news that the oil can go on things. Thank you.
Well, yes, and next week it'll be 1 tablespoon, so.
Even better.
Bettina, did you have a question?
Yes, I have a question regarding the protein, and when we weigh it, do we weigh it before we cook it or after, or is there any difference?
It's based on cooked, so yeah.
Cooked. Okay, so it's 60 gram cooked.
Also, yeah, but just make sure that the protein, like when you look at the chicken breast, for example, right? The protein component of generally most meats is about 25-30% of total weight. Like when you look up, just Google or whatever, the chicken breast, I think has 50-55 grams of protein, but the breast itself could be 150 grams, right? So not the whole piece of meat is protein. You have to do a little research, find out how much actually of actual protein per that piece of meat or whatever you consume.
So
Mhm.
just let me find the page. I think it's 30. Hold on one second, guys. Just a little guide for people. So it's on page 37. So we're just showing you roughly, and this is for, you know, if you're traveling or just winging it and you don't have your, you know, all your little things with you, right? So, you know, this is kind of half a cup, right? And then this would be sort of a full cup, right? Roughly,
Mhm.
right? And 3 ounces of meat would be like, you know, a Vegas deck of playing cards, just ballpark, right? If you're at a restaurant and you see that. So you can, you know, double up, right? Just to give you a little bit of aid when you're out, when you're not at home and you're trying to figure it out.
Mhm. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And so like, I know every chicken breast is a different size, but is it accurate to say that a regular sized average chicken breast is about 30 grams of protein?
No, it's about 50, 55. As a double
Oh.
check, but that's from my recollections.
Okay. Gotcha. I will double check. Thank you.
Mhm.
3.5 ounces of chicken breast, about 30 grams.
Gotcha.
Yeah. CJ?
Cottage cheese. Sorry,
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. You want to talk about cottage cheese?
it's one of the easiest way to consume protein. Just keep in mind that cottage cheese is 100% casein. So there is 3 kind of types of the protein coming from dairy. There is the isolate, which is the purest form of it, the concentrate that has, you know, other things in it, and then the casein. And casein is kind of the what you find in the cheese. Cheese is mostly casein. So casein takes longer to digest. So generally, when you have your second meal, particularly if like closer, we don't recommend eating your last meal within 3 hours of your bedtime. But because casein takes a bit longer to you know, get absorbed and gets into your system, it's not the worst option to have that cottage cheese kind of meal at your last meal, because you know you're gonna enter fasting, you're not gonna eat before the bed, and then you're gonna sleep. So you want to have something that will kind of slowly, you know, will be getting into your system and support you through, you know, basically at least the first half of your night.
So you're suggesting the cottage cheese with your second meal, Andrew?
Yeah, better than the first. Yeah.
CJ?
So related to the protein, not all protein is bioavailable, and I'm assuming that the reason the figures are high, 60 grams for women and 70 for men, is because, for example, a whey drink has less bioavailable protein than a piece of meat, for example, or an egg. It has the highest bioavailable protein. So is that something that we have to consider, or that you talk about, or is that figure 60 grams and above? That's why it doesn't really make a difference, as long as cumulatively, whatever your source of protein is, it's above 60 grams.
Leanne, can you say something about bioavailability, because I'm not sure I'm
Well,
on
I
the
think
same page
the,
what
the,
DJ
the
said.
key, CJ, is that we're saying 60 or 70 for males, because that's that's enough. That's a buffer enough to ensure that you're going to get enough and you're not going to lose any lean tissue, right? But when we put the program together, the idea is that regardless of your dietary restrictions or preferences, you can do the program. So we've incorporated that amount of protein to allow for people to include the types of proteins that they like, right? So we
Right.
don't get specific
That-
about,
Right, so that accounts for it. So
yeah.
the,
So it's,
the note,
we're giving you that higher limit, that higher amount per meal, to ensure that regardless of your dietary preferences or restrictions, you're good, right? Because otherwise it would be more limited. And so whether you're vegan, vegetarian, paleo, right? It
Right.
allows for that.
I would say in terms of bioavailability, based on my knowledge, and CJ, you feel free to send me reputable source with this bioavailability. I can send you my sources. The purer the form of the protein, the faster it's going to get into your blood, and the more it's going to spike muscle protein synthesis, the response that you want for. The purest form is essential amino acids, followed by actually whey isolate, whey protein. So the whey protein will give you, gram per gram, better spike in muscle protein synthesis as protein coming from chicken or meat, or red meat, because chicken and red meat will take longer for the body to digest, and it's going to be a slower release of that protein into the blood. So the slower the release, the less spike in the protein synthesis we have. The faster release, the more spike in protein synthesis we have. So all animal, what we call complete protein, is bioavailable as far as I know. But the purest form actually better in terms of getting a better spike in muscle protein synthesis. The only issue could be bioavailability that comes to me from, let's say, cereals, right? When they put on the box, 10, 15 grams of protein, well, half of it is attached to fiber. If it's indigestible fiber, it's just going to go through you. So then, when you look at the cereals box, say you have 15 grams of protein, you're probably only getting like 7 of those grams, because half of it, because it's attached to the fiber, is going to go right through you. So that's the only, bioavailability issue comes to me. But as far as the animal base and, whey isolate is better than in terms of what you want. My 2 cents. But I can send you very good source if you want to read more about it.
Yeah.
Great, I'll send you my stuff in too.
Sounds good. We'll compare the notes.
Okay, you guys can bring it up. We'll have a discussion next
Mhm.
week about it. But for the purpose of everyone involved, I think that, for gaining muscle, the whey isolate is great. But if you're having a complete protein and you're having these meals the way I've structured it, and you're getting all the macronutrients, you're getting your 60 to 70 grams of protein, it works very well. It's whole food, right? So you're going to be fine, and it allows everyone, regardless of their preferences, restrictions, everyone's going to be able to get the outcome that they want. That's the beauty of it. Jennifer, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question about, I went through to get like the supplements that were out there, and magnesium, I'm struggling with that one. So as terms of which magnesium to get.
So a little bit of a change. So if you go to my website,
Mhm.
and you go to resources, you'll see the supplemental protocol pop up, the drop
Okay.
down, and they're all there, and you can click on them and read. And I even get into, when to take it, how much, how to start, and you can read up on the actual supplements. It shows you which brand. The video that Andre and I did was last year. So I've updated the protocol a little bit for us. So I apologize. I wasn't aware we were sending the old video out. So I should have had that conversation with Andre. But like I said, if you go to the supplement protocol on my website, you'll be able to read about each individual one and make a decision. They are optional.
Oh,
right?
it's optional. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I
they're
already take it because I get that restless legs syndrome.
Yeah.
At
So
night,
for
so-
you, for you in particular, it's going to be important to make sure you're getting enough electrolytes, right?
Okay.
Okay, for sure. And I've sent you some notes, but the B's as well, vitamins, for nerve, and magnesium is important. And which magnesium are you taking right now?
I've taken just straight magnesium with nothing else in it. Right now it's a glycinate, I think is the one I have, a liquid.
So then I would recommend the one on the website, and that's just because, so it's called Magnesium Pro, and pull it up.
I looked for that. I couldn't find it. And I went to a couple different places here in Orangeville, couldn't find it.
So you're in Orangeville?
Yes.
Okay, so you can go to my website. If you click on it, you can make an account and you can order it right from FullScript, and you'll get the discount.
Oh, okay.
Where's your website, Leanne? Could you post that in Slack? I don't know where your website particularly is.
Yes, I can. It's a recipeforlife.ca.
Okay.
That's where you got the forms,
Oh, okay.
right?
Okay.
Yeah. So Andre and I will be adding the protocol to our reset website that's in the works, but for now it's on my website. So sorry for the confusion.
Jennifer, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
Can we on Wednesday do 5:30, not 5? Sorry, just trying to
Yes.
schedule somebody.
Andre's doing his schedule while we do the meeting.
Some people
Yes, that's
texting me
great.
to schedule, so I'm trying to.
Looking forward to
Awesome.
it. 5:30 is perfect.
Yeah, so also in the welcome package, Jennifer, if you go through the supplement section.
Yeah, I read that. I
apologize, I don't, so what page is this? Page 17. So we talk about, so magnesium, and we're just talking about, there's different forms. So the glycinate is great, but the one that I'm recommending has 4 different forms of magnesium. So it helps, it's more of a broad spectrum. It helps with everything. And it also has a little bit of B and coral calcium for absorption. So it's a really good one.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Mayada?
Oh, yes. When you say the purest form of protein is red meat or chicken or basically animal protein, when I was doing a lot of red meat, I was not really losing weight. So on this program, so should I stick with like white meat, like chicken, and to avoid the fat that's
Okay,
in the
so
red meat?
what Mayada is saying is that at some point during one of her resets, she struggled, and then I suggested her to go to lean protein. So that's later on. If you consuming your red meat from clean source, there's nothing wrong with red meat if it comes from, grass-fed, organic, all that stuff. But what happens, it has a bit of fat. So some people were struggling losing, fat because they were basically overeating it without realizing it, because you have your protein and you don't consider the fat in it, and you have your extra fat, and then calorie per calorie, you're not in a deficit, and then you're not losing weight. So then in that case, you can switch to more lean source of protein, like, white chicken breast and so on. But it's only relevant, later on in the reset. If you're not kind of losing between 1 to 3 pounds of weight a week, then you can tweak moving from the fatty source of protein, like fatty fish or red meat, to like leaner source, like, white fish or, white chicken breast. That's what you're saying, that right, Maya?
Yeah, I just wanted a reminder of that, because I know there was something with eating too much meat, which I did.
Yeah, no, I mean, meat is a complete protein, right? So it's there's nothing wrong with meat, guys. I think the one thing, obviously, Mayada, is what we want to do is, this is for week 2 and going forward, but I don't want to confuse anyone. But once we fat adapt, our goal will be to lose between 1 to 3 pounds per week. Okay. So if you're losing more than 3 pounds a week, you're going to message me in Slack, and we're going to make a little bit of an adjustment to your healthy fat intake. We might actually increase it, because we don't want you to lose more than 3 pounds a week after starting in week 2, because we don't want you to lose any lean muscle tissue. If you're not losing any weight, if it stops and you're not losing even 1 pound, then we're going to have a look at, then you're probably, usually it's just miscalculating a little bit of your healthy fats, having a little bit too much. And that would typically it would be like the nuts or the cheese, aside from cottage cheese, which doesn't count. But if you over consume those, then you might slow down your fat loss. And that's where I come in to help you, and we make a little bit of an adjustment.
So it's not the protein issue per se, it's the fat in some of the proteins that might not be an issue for you.
Yeah, I haven't personally, Mayada, haven't seen an issue with, the animal protein. It's more what I've found just from experience with everyone is just usually they're having too much healthy fats after they fat adapted. So once we reduce it, they might be having more nuts than they should, or they're having more cheese, like hard cheeses and stuff like that. It's usually that. But of course, I am recommending that, if you're having your animal protein after you're fat adapted, take the skin off. If you have all this excess fat on it, I want you to trim it, right? And take that off. I'd rather see you get the fat from, other sources, so that you're having a balanced, complete, sort of well-balanced diet, right? Mandy, did you have a question?
I have a question going back to magnesium. So are you familiar with the Calm brand of magnesium?
Yeah, yeah.
So I've taken that for many years, but they have gummies, which probably I'm sure has some calories or added sugar or something, right? So, and I take them at night before I go to bed. So like I have my last meal at 5. I usually go to bed between 8 and 9. But I always have those gummies. So probably I should change that. I'm wondering both for the reset and beyond what you would recommend around magnesium.
Yeah, so if you guys just make a note of page 21 in the guide, I'll go through it with you, but just make a note so you can cross-reference it whenever you want. So the Magnesium Pro by Provita, that's on my website that I highly recommend. It has citrate, which is what you're probably getting from the Calm. And that helps with regularity, right? And it can help with sleep a little bit, but it helps with regularity.
Sleep is mainly why I take it, but I guess also, yeah, regularity.
Okay, so if it's mostly for sleep, right? So malate, magnesium malate's good for inflammation, muscle soreness, depression, exercise, tolerance, so recovery. The glycinate or bisglycinate is good for sleep and relaxation. And if you get muscle cramps and anxiety. And then the oxide, magnesium oxide is also good for constipation and migraines and heartburn. Now, prior to, there's another one called Mag Enhance that has 3 different types of magnesium. That's also an option. I can't help you order that one, but it is an option as well. It doesn't have the 4, but it does have 3, and that one has 3 and 8 as well. Magnesium L3 and 8. But for a broad, the one on the website has 4 different types, plus it has a little bit of B and coral calcium for absorption. It's a really, really good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you can take that before bed. Yeah. And you don't have to worry about the
That
sugar.
won't break the fast.
Yeah.
Okay. And then would you recommend just in general, like skipping the gummies? Like I also take melatonin from the same brand, gummies before bed. It's just the easiest way for me to take it. And otherwise I'm like stirring up all this stuff and it's a pain in the ass. So, but I'm happy to change it for this 6 weeks. And if you think it should be changed going forward.
Well, you can take your melatonin before bed if it's helping you. If you're waking up in the morning and you're waking up, you're not lethargic and dragging your feet in the morning, then the melatonin, there's no reason from the reset perspective for you to stop taking it, just the gummies.
Okay.
But it is a THC gummy, so keep taking it.
Perfect.
You telling her to cheat, Andre?
The problem is you don't want to be near a kitchen after they kick in. The reset will be out of the window.
Yeah. No, not those gummies. She's talking about magnesium gummies.
Yeah, okay, because that is the only gummy I know.
Not talking about CBD gummies. Jane, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just got a couple quick questions. So I think you mentioned it a little bit about fats and meat sources and chicken sources and whatnot. So I use that MyFitnessPal app because I like that it gives you all the macros. I'm not doing the calorie counting per se, but you can quickly Google, 6 ounces of chicken or 4 ounces of chicken, and it gives you everything. So I like that app. But should we be trying to stay away from saturated fats? Because like a nice piece of steak is super crazy high in protein, but it's also got a lot of saturated. Like, do we care about that or not so much? I think you said not really.
The beauty of it is that if you're having your 2 meals a day, so if you're doing the reset, you're having your 2 meals a day, you can have animal protein with each meal.
Yeah.
And you're still going to be, if you're having lots of skin and copious amounts of, fat attached to it. But if you're having like a nice balanced steak, and when you're having chicken, you're going to be okay from a saturated fat perspective. And that's why when we look at the healthy fat, the additional servings, because I've done the calculations before just to try to see, to keep you under that 10% saturated, closer to 7% is what they're going to recommend, right? So you 7 to 10% where they want you to sort of stay under for saturated. If you, like I said, if you follow the program and you have your 2 meals a day and you're taking the skin off and you're just not having large amounts of visible marble fat, you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's good. I appreciate that. The other thing was, I'm not a huge person on weighing myself. I don't love doing that. It just, I'm tall. I don't like my numbers, never have. So I kind of go by size and clothes and whatever.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to be doing like weekly weight checks? Is that a big deal, or do I have, like, is that, something that is?
You know, it's for some people, it's really nice, to see. It helps us measure sort of. Now, again, if you're not able to do the in-body or a DEXA scan or something, it's hard to measure.
Day with Jen, we went and did it, but I didn't look at it. I'm gonna do one at the beginning, one at the end, but
There you go. So that's fine.
Okay. Okay.
It's no, there's no requirement. This is not like highly regimented where I don't get too obsessed with,
Numbers.
these things. The idea is that it's just looking before and sort of progressing, and then looking at the end, it just shows you, right?
Okay.
Because and if you did the DEXA or the in-body, then you're going to be able to see, how much of this is, right? Because some people will lose, 6 to 7 pounds of fat. They're just looking at the scale, but they might have gained muscle as well, or they at least didn't lose any. And so you want to get that overall picture, right?
Okay. And my last little quick question was like spices. Like if I'm doing cottage cheese and the Greek yogurt, like maybe I want that to be a big portion of my meal. Can you put like cinnamon, nutmeg? Like that's not a big deal, right? Okay. I didn't think so, but I didn't really see anything in it. Okay. Good.
Just make sure there's no, like sometimes they sneak in like sugar and little things into these spice mixes, but individual spices, absolutely no problem.
Okay. Okay. No, that's great.
Jane, can I add my 2 cents about putting yourself on the scale? I do think it matters on this program, not because we want to know your weight, we absolutely don't want to, but how do you know your progress in terms of week to week that you're losing between 1 to 3 pounds? Maybe you're losing 5 pounds, maybe you're not losing the 1. If you don't care about your weight, you're doing it purely for the health reasons, don't worry about the weight. But if an objective is to lose fat, then just so you know you're on the right track, right? Because then you're gonna, if you're losing less than 1 pound, meaning you're overeating the fat, then you will have to tweak your nutrition. If you're losing more, then you also have to tweak it. So that's the only reason we recommend to keep track of your weight week to week, because it gives you, tells you, your progress, right? If you're on the right track or not. Otherwise, you don't know.
Yeah, no, I realize that. That makes sense. Yeah, for sure.
And we're respectful, right? We understand some people are sensitive. They don't like to weigh themselves or whatever the reasons might be. But Andre's right in that respect. If that's, because if you're not losing enough or you're losing too much, I won't be able to help if we don't know, right?
Yeah, because you did mention about tweaking things if it's too much or too little or whatever. Okay.
We've had 1 or 2 people who are a little bit sensitive to their weight and things like that. And that's a completely separate issue. And I'm very respectful of that. But I think with you, you're just more like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't care about that as much. You just go with how you feel. But at least it's good to get an idea of if you're on track, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Just a quick question about the supplement. Do we get I know the one you recommended, but what about the magnesium and theanine?
So sorry, Hannah, I can barely hear you.
The magnesium and theanine that you have on your website, would that be, what's the difference between that one and the pro one that you're recommending?
The magnesium, the Mag Enhance and this one. Yeah,
Yes.
this one has an additional, it has more magnesium types. It has a little bit of B and coral calcium for absorption. So the real main difference I would say is the one on my website can assist a little bit more with constipation, which is one of the main reasons I added it and switched it, because it's got the citrate and the oxide in the mouth, right? Whereas the Mag Enhance, it's a really good one. It's got threonate, which will pass the blood-brain barrier. Okay, but it doesn't have the citrate, or it doesn't help with regularity. So I like the one on my website because it's got a broad range. It covers everything, and it also can help with regularity. And it's got some additional nutrients for absorption. But if you have the Mag Enhance, keep using it till you run out and then buy the new one. You don't have to switch like mid.
No, I think on your website there is the magnesium and theanine. Oh, am I imagining that? Hold on. Let me see. Where was I looking here?
I don't know.
Okay, hold on.
So if you go to resources and support,
Yes.
right, and you scroll down, there's the Nutri-C with, and then there's D3 and K2, and then there's the Magnesium Pro, and then there's
Right.
2 different types of digestive enzyme depending on
Yeah,
the
I think
need
I was
for it.
looking. Yeah. Okay, never mind. I was looking
You
elsewhere.
were looking, I'm like, what happened?
I don't know. I was aware I saw that, but okay.
Yeah, the Magnesium Pro is a really good one because a
Yeah,
lot of the magnesiums only have 1, maybe 2 forms, and this is superior. So,
Okay, I'm
And
ordering
can
it
you
right
take
now.
that at can you take it at night? Like if you want it to help, because I usually take magnesium at night to help me sleep. So and I think the dosage on the one I have, I think it's the biglycinate. I think it's 1 tab per day. But I noticed in some of your in the document somewhere it talks about taking magnesium. I can't remember where it is now. I'd have to go back and look. But
the Magnesium Pro you want to take, I would suggest maybe with your first meal, but it'll still help you sleep because it's going to go into your body and it's going to be available, it's going to be available for you, right?
oh,
You're not
okay.
going to take it and then it's going to be gone and used up, and then when you go,
Oh, I thought
Right.
taking magnesium at night sort of is a higher amount, so it helps you sleep. But if I didn't, that's what I did. I did read that you take it before your first meal, and I thought, well, I've been taking it at night to help me sleep. So, but
Yeah.
if it
And
works
that's
the
okay
same.
too. Yeah, that's okay too. It's just that this
Okay.
one has a little bit of B vitamin in it, and I don't want it to keep you awake,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Because B vitamins, first thing you use up when you have any kind of stress, and they give you energy, and we don't want to be energized at that time. Yeah, but
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
it's just a tiny amount, right? It's not a lot, but it's just enough to help with absorption of the magnesium, so you're able to absorb more. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That makes sense. Great. Thank you.
you're welcome. So I think everyone's got a handle on what we're doing this week. If you have any other questions, you can reach out in Slack. You can private message me if it's personal, or you can share and post good recipes, any ideas, just something you've, discovered or want to share. It's helpful for everyone. Yeah.
Hey guys, nice
Thank you.
seeing
Have
you
a good
all.
night, everyone.
Yep.
Talk
Thank
soon.
you.
We'll see you on
Bye.
Slack and next week.
You're welcome.
Bye bye.
Bye.